Over the past week, there has been scenes circulating around the UK, particularly around areas like Clapham Junction in London, showing groups of young people gathering, causing disruption, and in some cases, damaging property. Reports around late March into early April 2026 describe this as young people being bored. But I have a different question. Are young people bored, or there's something deeper going on? Now, I am not here to sensationalize anything. I am not here to criticize anyone. But when you see repeated patterns and young people on the street damaging property and their own community, then there's a need to pause and have a little bit of a reflection. That is whether you are a parent or not. I want to speak on this carefully because this is not just about what we are seeing, but why we are seeing it. That is why I'm going to be intentional. I will be deliberate. I will take my time on this because I do not want my communication concerning this to be misunderstood. And so I may really take my time with this because, like I said, I'm wondering why we are seeing it. When I look at this, I do not see a lack of behavior. What I personally see is a lack of direction. And a lack of direction actually begins earlier than today. So what we're seeing today is an output of something that has been built over the years. And it didn't just start. There's a root to all of this. We are living in a time where many parents are working harder than before. Long hours, multiple jobs, constant pressure just to maintain stability. And that is understandable. But the real question is, in the process of trying to provide, are we still present? Because presence is not just about being physically there. It's about guidance. It's about a conversation. It's about direction. It's about being a part of their life. And when this is missing, that gap must be filled. That space needs to be occupied. So in the absence of the above mentioned, what fills this gap is what leads many on the streets. Let's talk about the economic reality because this is also an economic issue. Many people are working between 10 to 12 hours in a given day and yet nothing to show for. Now, the real problem is not just the work ethic, but also sometimes it's a structure problem. You can spend 12 hours working and still struggle, and someone else can work fewer hours but earn more because they are positioned differently. So you see, more hours yet can't account for these hours in monetary value. Less hours, but more and efficient and effective productivity, yet more income. 6 hours, more time at home with a family. There's a difference here. Once again, I'm not blaming anyone in this. I'm just sharing my thoughts and my views on this. The difference is knowledge, exposure, and access to better pathways. So let's talk about some solutions here, because usually when I expose a problem, I come with some remedies, some solutions to help the problem. This is where we need to shift the conversation, because young people do not just need discipline. They need direction and a clear pathway. I want to be this in life. Well, we may not have to go to university, but there is a clear vocational way, a route that we can go to also arrive at a destination. If a level 5 is a first degree, there should be an equivalent in other qualifications that has a clear pathway to a destination. So we do not waste much time, but then the system easily absorbs them after some practicality. That is what I am talking about. And so if you observe your young one, and theoretically your young one is not that good or in ill, that you want to align that young one to a path that has a direct pathway. Let me use an example: aviation. You want to be a pilot. We have the School of Aviation. Well, you may want to go to the university to study engineering or some aviation courses. But there's also the School of Aviation that gives you a direct path. It's a process. It's like a project castle where you learn on apprenticeship, but then we eventually get there. So you see, direction and align them on the right path. That is one of the ways that we as parents, we as guardians, we as mentors, we can declare and define to support these young ones. We can also ensure that we identify real skills, real earning potential, real structure, because when someone sees path, then there can be a continuity. They behave differently when there is a declared and a direct path. Now let's talk about the responsibility. This is not about blaming young people, like I stated earlier. It is also not about blaming parents, because either way, it's of right intentions, and so we can't blame anyone. But we need to identify what young people really need. We need to know what they are taught, recognizing what young people see and what they believe is possible. If the only environment they see is survival, limitation, confusion, then that becomes normal. So when I see these scenes, I do not just see distraction. I see a signal that is clear, shouting that there's something missing, there is something wrong, there is something that it's really loud, and yet no one is hearing the sound of it. This is not about judgment, it's about awareness. And if we do not address the root, we will continue to react to the symptoms. This is YAT Finance. My heart bleeds because that is the next future. I'll see you in the next.